I would say about 90% of video games out there are a known quantity. You know, all Ubisoft games are going to have open worlds with a bunch of stuff to do. EA will churn out a sports game year after year. JRPGs will have a sauna scene. Naughty Dog games will have a narrative-focused story. Mario will have to save Princess Peach. Then there's that 10% of games that completely catch you by surprise. Baldur's Gate 3 is proudly in that 10%. This is a game I'd only heard about in passing. I knew the people that made Divinity Original Sin 2 were making another CRPG, and because of that, I thought I knew what to expect from this game. Well, 140 hours later, and I can go ahead and say this is something I didn't expect. Baldur's Gate 3 was built to get you absolutely intoxicated by everything in this fantasy world. Since it's based on the Dungeons & Dragons universe, we got everything here. Wizards, barbarians, ogres, druids, cute dogs, zombies, skeletons, my green wife, everything you could possibly hope for. This game loves to shamelessly flex its D&D roots. I mean, when you do a roll, there's a literal die that you roll to figure out if you pass a skill check. It's such a fun way to add a little drama to all your interactions, but it's quick and snappy, not some long, drawn-out minigame. You need a 15, so roll a 15 or don't. There's a narrator for everything you do that is effectively serving as your dungeon master the entire time, which is the best.
A strange symbol glows, marked on their flesh, and something within you stirs in response.
All the menus are so serene and beautiful with a little golden trim around them. You level up and you're whisked away to this tranquil-ass forest and you select some new deadly skill you want to add to your arsenal. Character models and designs are clean, and they really shine when you get up close. When having one-on-one combos with characters are so impressively expressive. Even though there's thousands of pages of dialogue in this game, your character animations feel real and natural. It's one of the things that makes them feel so endearing in the first place. Visually, the game can be pretty stunning at points, even with that camera pulled way back. You're given dozens of unique and lively locales across your journey. They'll make you want to just take a couple seconds to soak them in. While the big areas are a treat to look at, a lot of the attention to detail in this game is what puts the icing on the cake. Ooh, I love when a character's at 1 health and they look like they've just been in a bar fight. While the visuals are great about 85% of the time, there's another 15% of this game that is horrendous to look at. This is all from a technical perspective. Armor pieces not loading in, frame rates go into PowerPoint mode, half rendering buildings. The later you get in the game, the worse its performance gets. While I can normally stomach visual glitches, this game's technical woes go much deeper and regularly end up impacting gameplay. Though that won't crater your experience with the game because Baldur's Gate 3 is really the complete package for video game presentation. There's music scores that naturally partner well with each section of the game, and the music in general feels so reactive. When you kill an enemy, you get the hit with a little fanfare and the song completely changes.
In position.
Music in this game is such a powerful presentation tool and makes every minute with this game a treat. They even front load the bangers by giving you the best song in the game and the character creator. Character moments feel more meaningful, battles feel more impactful, and your sense of adventure is heightened. Baldur's Gate 3 will use everything in its power to wrap you up in its world. In the late 2000s when the big buzz phrase in video games was branching storylines. Like if you made one choice early in the game, it would completely alter your entire playthrough. A lot of games like to brag about that, but once you started to push the storytelling to its limits, the game would push back. Oblivion is a great example. You felt like you could go anywhere, steal anything, do quests in any order, but you would kill an important character, and that character goes unconscious. So you could never just sever the storyline. When you tried to push the game to its limits, it would start pushing you along those guide rails. In my opinion, only one game did this really well, and it took 3 full-size video games to tell the story. I mean, in Mass Effect, you can kill off a lot of people really early in the game, and you feel those ripple effects all the way to 3. I've always been adamant that a Mass Effect style game could never get made today. But 10 years later, here comes Baldur's Gate 3. The narrative storytelling in BG3 is so impressive. I'm not exaggerating when I say everyone is killable. At any time, you could just completely wipe a character off the map, and guess what? No game over. You just gotta find another way forward. The scale of the amount of content you can miss is staggering. If you mainline the story, you can miss full cities and quest lines and character interactions and partners. But the game nudges you really well, having stuff pop up at the right time to make you want to explore. Sure, I don't have to go through this temple, but my girl Shadowheart wants to go in, so I'm in. I know the voice in my head says not to look at this creche, but I gotta do right by my girl Azel. The reason this works is because your squad mates are awesome from top to bottom. Except Gale, who the jury is still out on since I completely missed him on my playthrough. The character moments you have with your companions are strong as fuck. Character conversations are absolutely intoxicating. Great character design, facial tics, realistic dialogue, and great VO work breathe so much life into the characters. You catch yourself really caring about them and their resolutions. I love the hub world, your campsite. When you bounce around talking to everyone, there's always like a little event happening, characters are interacting, all while you have some nice relaxing music playing in the background. The most notable quirk in this is initially the nature of every relationship with your companions is based on whether or not you want to bang someone. And whoo boy, I will tell you what. Everyone wants to bang you.
I'm in love with you.
Uh-oh.
The romance options can come on really strong at times. But if Shadow Heart's romance is anything to go by, these arcs are incredibly well written and build a wholesome romantic storyline for companions. In general, these narratives for your companions are so good that you feel like a side character in your own game. And that makes this video game very rewarding to RP. Shadow Heart and Astarion especially are great examples of awesome companion storylines. Even though I thought my wisecracking drow thief was the main character, the companion stories changed that completely. I feel like I was the side quest, and I love that. Quests are so intricate and deep, you pull on a little story thread and all of a sudden you're yanked into a full side campaign. And there's dozens of different ways to access these quests, areas, and story beats. You can play the game 3 times and have every single piece of the story play out differently and at varying chronological orders. Baldur's Gate 3 rewards players for talking to people and exploring storylines, but also rarely punishes you for missing stuff. Often when you skip something, you don't realize it until you're looking up a guide for another quest and you're like, wait, who the fuck is this dude? And that right there is great storytelling. While I praise how complex and intertwined the quests are, this definitely comes with some jank. There's some big problems when it comes to quest logic. You pick up one quest, you think you finished it, but for some reason it doesn't update, so you're looking around trying to find a missing piece, then you leave the area and then it updates, and in general you spend a lot of time trying to figure out, is this questline just weird or is it genuinely bugged? The Nightsong questline and the Murder Mystery questline are really guilty of this on my playthrough. It wouldn't trigger sometimes, it would skip over meaningful story beats, and by the end I'm just sweating bullets wondering if my current save file is in the shitter. Nothing pulls you out of a game's narrative quicker than bad story logic and buggy quest triggers. But because this narrative was so strong, I would just power through, even if it meant reloading a 2-hour-old save. Overall, I think the narrative storytelling in Baldur's Gate 3 is masterful. I love the heartwarming and wholesome story moments. I love your companions and their storylines. I love that the game never takes itself too seriously. I love Scratch. I love that when you talk to someone, you never know where it's going to take you. And I love the narrative of Baldur's Gate 3. In case you haven't noticed, one of the easiest ways to win me over when it comes to gameplay is by having variety. And no, that doesn't mean like 9 different mechanics. Really what it means is making every second of your game feel unique and fresh. Tears of the Kingdom did it earlier this year, and Baldur's Gate 3 is doing it now. Baldur's Gate 3 is a CRPG through and through. What this means is isometric camera angles, large sweeping inventories, stat sheets, branching storylines, and clean methodical combat. You're swapping between your party members and building out the perfectly balanced team for all encounters. And the party management system is easy to use and intuitive. You're constantly fiddling around with your inventory, and even though management of your inventory can be super tedious, you luckily aren't spending too much time in it. You're dragging around different pieces of armors and accessories and just trying to get what is best for your character build. I actually like how they streamline gear in this game. Really only your main armor affects your defense, and everything else is just a way to supplement your build. Maybe these things are good for your unarmed monk, or you have a pair of boots that allows your fighter to ignore terrain. All of this is to make progression feel self-made when it comes to gear. Overall, progression is rewarding and earned. The level cap is 12, so each time you level up, it feels like this huge moment. You're excited to see what abilities and skills are waiting for you around the corner. Finally, I got an AoE attack, or you get that extra bit of health you've always needed. Around level 6, you can really see your character build start to take shape in front of you. Now I'm sitting here talking about gear and leveling up and abilities, and you're like, okay, wait, so what is this for? Sorry, got a little ahead of myself there. All these systems and mechanics feed into the most fresh-feeling turn-based combat in gaming. Fights are unique. Even the same fight very rarely turns out the same when you replay it. Combat will suck you in and give you absolute tunnel vision on your screen. I had to go back and record combat B-roll because I was so enthralled by combat I forgot to hit record. Each turn you take has dozens of different possible directions to go, and while you may fail and your squad gets wiped, that never feels bad. In fact, every failure is used to learn. The game is always challenging you to break it. You never feel guilty for cheesing something because the beginning of Baldur's Gate 3 has already charged you with thinking outside outside the box. When an enemy shows up and you just shove them off the edge, that doesn't feel cheap. It actually feels awesome. While combat is great, Baldur's Gate can be really rough around the edges in a bunch of different ways. Though this game is masterful in some spots, that does not mean it gets a pass for how buggy it is. People not showing in cutscenes, getting stuck behind doors, delayed actions, we got it all. Like I said in the story section, you have moments where you aren't sure if you're experiencing a bug or if the game is just being extra janky. Outside of bugs, the game has a lot of tedium, especially around traversal. While map design itself is incredible, getting around these areas is a different story. Trying to angle yourself correctly for a jump, your AI-controlled squad mate just not moving sometimes, camera controls and angles are fucking impossible. Once you start trying to move vertically in battle or just around the world, I still just don't understand. I don't understand how to look up stairs in this game. I have to scooch my dudes along the stairs till the game bumps me onto the second level. Overall, this game needs some substantial polishing. The bad never outweighs the good here. And when the game is good, it's a masterpiece. And the thing that really solidifies its masterpiece status is the chaotic mess that is multiplayer.
Oh! Oh! Hey, can you come hit this Ugg? With your sword? Whoa!
Oh,
Did he
oh
just...
my god.
Oh!
What the fuck? This torch out of the way.
Oh my god!
Yeah, bitch.
There you go!
I just yelled at him.
Oh!
Oh!
Oh my
What?
god. It's a gluttony of heirs!
Oh, are you guys still running around?
Nope, well, literally no one is moving, Nick.
And all of a sudden... Okay, that guy's ready.
Nope. I need you to put your
Where's this-
clothes back on and we need to go.
Nice. Fucking nice.
Alright, well, that's the end of that mission. That mission's over. That mission's completed.
I feel like Baldur's Gate's multiplayer is the embodiment of putting Murphy's Law in a video game. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Everyone tries to roleplay, but somehow you're just killing your friends, blowing up shit, you're sitting in the background of cutscenes, butchering dice rolls, getting in fights on accident. I've never loved a co-op experience like this, probably since the Halo games back in the 2000s. I think the thing that makes this special is your group feels so invested and pulled into the game's narrative. The toughest part of making a multiplayer story-rich game is inevitably your group just ends up talking over cutscenes, skipping through them, stepping away to go to the bathroom, but the magic of Baldur's Gate 3 is everyone is absolutely locked in. That's because if I mess up a dice roll, we're all screwed. Multiplayer is a narrative-rich disaster for you and your friends, and I would 100% recommend you have a single player and multiplayer playthrough for this game, because some of the best things in this game are enjoyed together. Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the biggest surprises of my video game career. But just because it's a surprise doesn't mean it should not be criticized. I think the back third of this game can be very, very rough to get through from a technical level. If any other studio released a game like this, the Redditors would be all over this one. Even with that being said, this is probably the best game I played this year, which speaks to how incredible it is. Because when this game works, boy does it work. I think the reason I get so excited about the future of Baldur's Gate 3 is because there's a framework there to build something really special. Often when games release in a janky state, it's not just bugs. There's something fundamentally wrong with the game. Whether it's a battle pass, bad story pacing, ham-fisted mechanics, these are things that are stuck with the game forever. Baldur's Gate 3 is different because in my opinion, everything wrong with this game is 100% fixable. And that's exciting. If you're thinking about getting Baldur's Gate 3 but are on the fence, my advice would be to wait for a couple more patches to come out just so they can polish it up. But if you're a stubborn ass and just want to play it today, you're still gonna love it. That's because no matter which way you look at it, Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3 is the pinnacle of role-playing games, and will proudly hang the banner as one of the best video games of the modern era.